One thing I've always loved about Grandma is her support of me in all my musical endeavors. From like when I was just a little girl up through high school and even through college, and even now still when I'm performing or doing something with music, whether it's something at school or like even just something at church now, she comes and she always tells me how proud she is of me, and that just always makes me feel good because it's just nice to have that support. And it's been so fun in my life to have my grandparents live close and love this thing with me that I love to do. So I'm just really grateful that I've always had that in my life, and I know I'm super lucky. So thank you, Grandma. Love you.
One of my favorite memories with Grandma is actually like a collection of memories. I can't remember exactly when it started. I think it was after I moved out, but I started helping Grandma and Grandpa make the noodles for General Conference. And I, first of all, loved learning how to make the noodles. That was really fun to me. But one of my favorite parts about that is how much one-on-one time I got to spend with Grandma as she taught me how to do the noodles and just taught me about life. I remember right after I got married, we were making noodles. And I remember asking Grandma marriage and family advice. And she told me that one of her best pieces of advice for marriage and family life to be happy is to spend time together. And I remember her sharing stories about how she and Grandpa had done that, and I just really cherish those times. I've always loved the way the noodles taste, but it just seemed to taste a little bit better when I was able to be there with Grandma. And it helped me realize the sacrifice that both Grandma and Grandpa made to make those noodles. It is a lot of work, especially for that many people. And I think it just epitomizes how Grandma and Grandpa sacrificed everything and gave everything to their kids and grandkids. And I'll always cherish that memory of noodles. Love you, Grandma.
So probably my favorite memory of Grandma was when I was probably, I don't know, maybe 8 years old at their old house in Bountiful. And Grandma used to always have all those chocolate mint patties, and I used to eat more than my fair share of them. And I remember one time I went to grab some and my mom told me not to take any more because I had already had enough. And then once my mom turned around, Grandma looked at me and whispered that I could have a few more. And I think that's when I knew that I probably had the coolest grandma.
Alright, I think for a memory that I have with Grandma, it isn't a specific one memory. It's more of just like a collection of a bunch of different memories. And that being just Grandma coming to all of the things that I did as a kid, like when I had piano lessons when I was a little kid, all through whenever I took piano and had recitals and things. She was always there at those recitals, even though I'm sure some of them weren't all that great. Like, honestly, how good can a 9-year-old kid be at playing the piano? Like, some kids are great at it, but I was just normal, so like I wasn't all that great. I can't imagine that it was that fun to be at the recital, but she was there. She always came to my choir concerts in school and everything else, and she always asked me how my life is going and how PT school is going and a whole bunch of different things. So I can just tell that she loves me just because of her being there and supporting me in all the things that I've done. And so I think that would just be my memory, I guess you could say, of just how much Grandma loved me because of how much she supported me. Love you, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma. I'm just recording this to share my favorite memory with you. And my favorite memory is when we were growing up and you were in your Bountiful house and you would make lunch, even if it was just like sandwiches and carrots, while my mom would go out with her sisters, you would make lunch for me, and we would just sit there at the island and talk, and then we would eat animal crackers together. And I think I asked you about the spoons on your wall every single time, and you would always tell me. And I love those moments when we just had, with just the two of us, just us eating lunch with just the two of us. So, love you.
My favorite things about Grandma and Grandpa is just that they've always been there for everything that I've done. Always been so supportive of me and make me feel so loved. They've always been at my choir concerts, my voice recitals, my wedding, with my babies being born, when I served my mission, just everything in my life. They've always been there and always cheered me on. And I feel so grateful for that. I know when I was on my mission, getting handwritten letters from you guys was so special to me and something that I still cherish. I feel like also just your example that you set for staying true and faithful in the church, I feel like has been a huge blessing in my life and something that I hope to pass on to my family. I feel like your example of serving so faithfully and so consistently has really helped me to strive to do the same. And your testimonies have helped me grow. I love that anytime I come to your house, you always give me the biggest hug and you tell me how much you love me. And you just make me feel like I'm the most important in the world. And it's always blessed my life and always made me feel so grateful. I love you guys. And yeah.
So my favorite moment with Grandma was when I was in high school. I would mow her lawn every week, and either during the school year and even during the summer, I would go and I would mow and I'd come in after and I'd get a drink. And I usually would just spend the next hour or two talking to Grandma and Grandpa. And I actually would take it longer talking to them than it took me to mow their lawn. But that's when I really got to know them and really grew to love them as people, not just because they were my grandparents. And I will never forget the time that I could just spend with both Grandma and Grandpa being together.
Okay, so just wanted to share some memories I have with you, Grandma. I feel like the biggest thing is that I have just a memory of consistency of you in my life. You were there for everything. I remember one of my younger memories is sitting on your counter and you were curling my hair with your fingers under my chin, and you just kept talking about how I had the most amazing body, and my hair did. And I was so proud of that you thought my hair was amazing, the way it would just stay curled if you used your fingers to curl it. And I also remember when I was still pretty young and older too, it was like one of my favorite things that we did, where I would come up into your room and you had that vanity, and you'd let me try on your rings with you, and you'd tell me the stories of all of the different rings. And I just remember thinking that you had the most amazing jewelry, and you had such cool stories behind all of it. I love that memory. I remember shocking you with all my intense style choices for a while there. I remember I had bright green fingernails when you guys got home from Brazil that second time when I wasn't a baby. And you were shocked. And all my crazy intense opinions. But honestly, I felt like I never felt judged by it. I felt like it was endearing to you, even though it was crazy and wild and definitely not your style. I have memories of being at your house in between piano lessons at Mary Louise's house, and like walking up the hill to your house and eating animal crackers and just sitting at your counter, and patio breakfasts and holidays, and just having you always be there, making all of my really intensely difficult choir dresses. Obviously, one of my most special memories is having you be the person that took me through the temple before my mission. That was really special to me. And then the way that you all welcomed Kevin into the family and were so loving. You've always been a really important part of my life, and I love you.
One of my favorite memories of Grandma, a lot of it, it's not like a specific time, but in high school, me and Matt and Tasha and Brianna sometimes would come over to Grandma and Grandpa's house during lunch. And sometimes they'd feed us pizza, other times we'd just bring our own food. But it was a lot of fun to just have time with them and to hear more about their lives growing up, and stories from when they were first married and different things like that. And it was a lot of fun to spend time with Grandma that way. I love you, Grandma.
As one of the Iowa grandkids, I didn't get to spend as much time with Grandma as some of the other kids did. But I still have a few memories I'd like to share. I remember the time that Grandma and Grandpa came to visit me in Brazil when I was on my mission. And they got special permission from my mission president to meet me at the MTC. That was kind of special. I remember Grandma talking to me about all the weird things that Brazilians do. Yes, they iron everything, and no, they don't really believe in hot vegetables. I also remember the handful of times I came to visit them while I was at college at BYU, Idaho. And they always had a safe, homey place for me to stay, and good food. That's one thing I probably remember most about Grandma. There was always something tasty to eat in her house, and she was usually the one who had made it. Sorry I don't get to spend as much time with you guys as I'd like. But I love you. And I hope you get to feeling better soon. You are loved. You make a difference in all of our lives.
Hi, Grandma.
We love you.
No, can you say hi?
Hi.
Can you say hi, Grandma?
Hi.
Can you blow her a kiss?
Good job.
We love you, and we hope you get feeling better. We're praying for you and fasting for you. We love you a lot. As for a memory, the memory that came to my mind was just mowing your lawn every week as a kid, and all the times that afterwards we just sit and talk for sometimes hours about life. Those are times that I will always remember and will always cherish. I'm really grateful for that time that we had together. You, me, Grandpa, and John was usually there too, I guess. But that was a memory. That was what I first thought of when they asked us to do this. Love you, Grandma.
Love you. Bye.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say love you.
Abo.
Say get feeling better. Say feel better.
Mom.
Good job.
Love you, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma. I just wanted to say hi. I hope you're starting to feel better. I don't have a specific memory to share. I just wanted you to know that you've always been a great example to me, and I've always enjoyed being at your house. I've always felt welcome and loved, and I think you've been a great example to both your kids, to your grandkids, and even to your great-grandchildren. And I hope that I can live up to your reputation, and I hope you start feeling better soon. And know that we all love you and pulling for you, and let us know if there's anything that we can do to help. And I love you. Hope you have a good day. Bye.
Hi, Grandma. One of my favorite memories of you is that when we were little, we would come over and stay at our house when our parents were gone. And I remember loving that you always had Lucky Charms. And we never had Lucky Charms. And so it was a super big treat to have Lucky Charms at Grandma and Grandpa's house. And you were always doing little things like that, having little treats or snacks that made coming to Grandma's house special. Another memory I have is of your mission when you and Grandpa were at the MTC in Brazil. And that was a stage in my life when I started to realize that I was going to serve a mission someday. And so reading your letters every week and hearing about your experiences at the MTC and seeing you come home from your mission were critical milestones in my life in helping me confirm that I was going to serve a mission. And so your example of faithful service and missionary service were really important to me. And what's really impressed me as I've become a father and a husband is how you're still so aware and interested in our lives as your grandkids, even though we're all over the country and far away and don't get to see you, but still the birthday notes come consistently, and whenever I did see you, how excited you'd be to see us again and see your great grandkids again, and just how much you love to be with your family shines through in every time we see you. So I love you, Grandma.
It's one of my favorite things about Grandma is that she always had so much spunk and was so like fun and full of energy all the time. Like, I have this picture of her wearing these purple glasses with like the lines across them, and she's doing a peace sign and just like stuff like that. How she was always just so fun and always wanted to do stuff, and like, I don't know, she always just had so much energy, and I really loved that about her.
I always loved the memory of home canning peaches with Grandma. I loved the peach tree they had out back, and it made the best peaches, the best canned peaches I've ever had. But also, and really more importantly, my closest memory of Grandma is really of her and Grandpa when they were talking with me a few years ago, when it had been many years since we'd spoken and I was in kind of a rough time, and they just listened to me patiently, and I felt very loved and accepted at that time. So that's my favorite memory.
One of my favorite memories with Grandma Twitchell is that every December she would have all the girl cousins over to her house, and we'd have a sleepover there. We'd all sleep in the basement, and then in the morning she would make us breakfast, and we'd make gingerbread houses with her and decorate those. I always looked forward to that so much, and I loved spending that time with her. I also loved when we'd be watching BYU football games together, and it was always when it was a close game or an important game, and I'd often look over and see Grandma saying a little prayer for the Cougs. Love you, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma. This is Scott. I'm making my video, and the memories that I wanted to talk about are two kinds of memories. The first is food. I think it has to be food. There's so many memories of mine that are tied to food. Probably the youngest ones I have are sitting in your kitchen in your house in Bountiful with that small little kid-sized card table with the gray top and the red or orange legs with the matching chairs, and having Lucky Charms, and that was like the only time we ever got Lucky Charms. Our parents definitely were not willing to buy that. So that was the first memory, just always having such yummy, awesome things to eat. I think it's more than just the food, it's the fact that you always were doing stuff like that for us, and that your being with you is always associated with great food memories. So I love that, and I love that all the traditions are tied to food and have good food associated with them. I think that made General Conference and the holidays, all that, and just getting together with family so much more memorable and fun. And it was probably tons of work for you, so thank you for doing that. The other memory I have is it happened lots of times, but after General Conference, when we'd have our little meeting where people would share what they liked about General Conference, I remember you and Grandpa always going last, and you always talking about how blessed you felt, but also that I just remember your example of being willing to go and do whatever Heavenly Father's asking you guys to do, like go down to Brazil multiple times. And I know that probably wasn't the most comfortable thing for you since you didn't know the language and loved being with your family, but you're always willing to go do that. And I think that is a characteristic that a lot of people don't have today. So thank you for that. Love you, Grandma. Really sorry that you're feeling so much pain right now. We're praying for you. We'll be fasting for you tomorrow. We love you, and pray that the right thing will happen. Bye.
So I have too many favorite memories with Grandma to choose from, but I'll just pick out a couple. One of my favorites is when I was in kindergarten, I would get home from school and I would ask my mom to take me over to Grandma and Grandpa's every single day. And Grandma would paint my nails, and the same color that she always had her nails painted. She would paint my nails, and she would let me pull out all of her pots and pans and play the drums on them. And I love that. I love that about her. Another thing that I love, and this is probably one of my very fondest memories with Grandma and Grandpa too, but my senior year, every Thursday, and we only really started doing this, like the last semester of our senior year, but Tasha and I would go over to Grandma and Grandpa's for lunch every Thursday, and that became my favorite day of the week, because I just got to go and spend it with Grandma and Grandpa and talk to them and learn more about them, and that was just the best. And I also just love Grandma's sass. I think that's where I got it from, honestly. I think I got it from her, and I love that I can tease her and she teases me right back. Anyway, I love you, Grandma.
One memory of Grandma that kind of sums up most of my memories of Grandma is when I was on my mission. I remember having a pretty particularly tough day, and I got a birthday card in the mail from Grandma and Grandpa in Grandma's classic handwriting. And I remember reading it and feeling kind of overwhelmed that she was so aware of what I was going on, what was going on for me, even though I was on a mission and far away, and she has so many grandkids doing so many different things. I felt like she was closely watching what I was doing, even though I was just on my own on a mission, and it made me feel loved, and that kind of sums up how I've always felt from Grandma.
One memory I have with Grandma is it was around Christmas time, and all the girl cousins would come, and we would make gingerbread houses and like watch Christmas movies, and then we would have a sleepover in her basement by like the tree, and it was so fun. And even though it was kind of young and we only did it for a little while, I like still remember it really well, and I just remember it being really fun.
Hi, Grandma. I heard the bad news. I heard that you had a little tumble recently, and I just wanted to send my love and let you know how much I appreciate you all the way from Portland. I hope by the time you get this that you feel a lot better. I guess what we're doing is we're sharing a favored memory about you, and I feel like I got the short end of the stick because I was so far away that I didn't get to spend as much time with you as everyone else has. But I do have a few fond memories. I think the thing that I remember the most, I mean, this was all throughout my life. I feel like every time, I made it out to Utah with my family, we'd travel out there, we'd have a road trip maybe once, sometimes if we were lucky twice a year, but usually only once a year. And I remember as soon as I'd walk into your house, everything was in its perfect place. It always smelled exactly the same. I mean, I could walk in after, not being there for a year and open up the cupboard and find, everything just the way that you had left it. And I remember, I think I was I'm not sure if I was in middle school or if I was in high school or how old I was, but I remember trying to help you out by cleaning the kitchen. And I tried my best to make sure that everything was in its perfect spot. And I remember that you used to get the Grandma Sycamore bread, and I put it in its spot. And then you came home from whatever you're doing. You might have been at the temple, I'm not sure, but you came home and you moved it over about 2 inches. I didn't quite nail it, but that being said, like, that was the comedic side of what I love. One of the things I love most about you is that you have such a beautiful attention to detail, and that's not just about how things are placed in your house. It's in general, I think you remember a lot more, you pick up on a lot more than most of us do about the people that surround you, and you also love to provide an environment where your family can really truly enjoy and feel comfortable in, and also share their energies together. You create this atmosphere that I think that sometimes we just take for granted because it's a constant. It's always there, but it's definitely one of your gifts. Just making us a home, I guess, to share experiences in. So, yeah, I don't know. I hope that suffices. But I do want you to know that I care very much about you, even if I don't always get down as often as I would like. And I'm going to try to make it down there, hearing that you're sick. I have a schedule now that's a little more forgiving. So, and I'm not too far away, only about 12 hours. So I'm going to try to make it down there and spend some time here soon, hopefully. Anyways, I'm going to sign off. Once again, I love you. I hope you recover quickly. And until we see each other again, bye-bye.
My memory of Grandma that I would like to share is kind of a group of memories. Some of my favorite times with Grandma are when I was interested in Abby before she left on her mission, and then throughout her mission, and when she got back and got to get to know Grandma more. Grandma was so supportive of me marrying Abby, even to the point where she was disappointed that like I could ever think anyone else was like worthy of marriage for me. And it was really cool that she loved Abby in a way that was really relatable to me because of the way that I love Abby and how much she adopted Abby into the family so quickly and so lovingly. And one other thing about Grandma that I always think of when I think of Grandma is how, as a kid and even now, she will always tell me that I need to cut my hair or shave or something. And I just love how Grandma's blunt reminders of being clean shaven and clean cut were always, I knew that they were because she loved me and she cared that I looked nice and that I was representing the Lord well. And I really appreciate that. I even shaved today. I was shaggy this morning. I even shaved for Grandma because I'm going to see her today. Love you, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma. This morning I actually had an experience that reminded me of just how angelic grandmothers can be. We actually met a family last week that we didn't know them before, but we found out that their grandma had brought them to church. She had driven from far to bring them to church every week, and she said she could start doing it again. And she made the long drive this morning, and the girl came to church and loved it, and we have been able to set up baptismal day with her. And I realized that I had the same kind of grandma, the one that always showed us what was most important, that always put God first and us first, and that always showed us how much she cared for us. And one experience that I thought of is when I was 14, when I had to start getting allergy shots. I was really bummed out about it because I didn't want needles in my arm all the time. But in thinking back on it, there's a phrase that people use here, Seigneur il fait bien les choses, that God does things well. And in thinking about that, going to Bountiful every week, that gave me a chance to stop at your house every week. And that became one of the best parts of the week. I got to stop by your house every single week and talk with you and feel of how much you loved us. So thank you for always showing that love to each and every one of us.
Hello. Okay, so I'm doing this outside, so hopefully you can hear me. So I think my favorite memory, or at least one that sticks out of Grandma, is when I was little. Me and Brianna would always talk about how perfect her nails were, and I wanted nails like Grandma. So there was one night where was coming over, and I asked Grandma to paint my nails. And she just painted my nails, and I felt so happy afterwards because she took the time to paint my nails and make them look like hers. And I don't know, I just love that memory, and I didn't find out till later that Grandma gets her nails done, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, that's one memory that really sticks out, and just like the, just the time she took to do my nails. Yeah, I love you, Grandma.